Hey everybody, it's late on Thursday. We have had a crazy week, but I wanted to make sure that I hopped on before Friday comes and I am even busier. Wanted to hop on and answer this question. We've been talking about strength training this week in the group and what your favorite moves are and what your questions are. So I wanted to answer this question because I get it a lot as a trainer and I get it a lot from women. First, let me introduce myself. If you're new to the group, my name is Kelly. This is my group, the Fit Finishers. Came from my fitness company, which is My Fit Finish, and the idea behind it is that we would finish and run the race of life strong, just like scripture says. And I hope that I can encourage you, and this group can encourage you to be spiritually and physically fit to do all the things that you want to do. So through that, I'll be talking about the Bible, devotions, what you're reading, and then also like how you're working out and kind of how those two overlap. And I'll be talking more about that as we go on in the group. Okay, so strength training. If you are going to lift weights, and I'll try to make this quick and to the point. When you're starting lifting weights, what weight do you choose? I would say typically, if you're doing arm exercises, it's going to depend on a couple things. It's going to depend on where you're starting at, if you've ever worked out before, your goals, so where you want to get to. Sorry, Liam's picking up. So that being said, if you're starting brand new, I would start with 5-pound weights. Maybe 3 pounds, but really I would say 5, maybe even 8-pound weights. Anything to do with the shoulder, so like a front raise or a lateral raise or an overhead press, I would go a little bit lighter. But if you're holding weights like at your sides or at your shoulders for leg moves like squats or lunges, you can go a little bit heavier because your major muscle groups can handle a little bit more. I don't like to stress the shoulder out too much if you're brand new to working out. Liam's getting my weights out. Okay, so start 5 to 8 pounds. How do you know when to move up? If you've been exercising, what buddy? Give me a sec. Here, pick it up, bring it over here. If you have been exercising, that's a 5-pound weight. If you've been exercising for a while and you're not seeing maybe the definition you want, you're not seeing what your goals are, if you're not seeing that, then I would say up your weight. And I know some girls were talking about that in here, that there's this stigma around lifting heavy, that you're gonna like bulk up, you're gonna become like man-like, which we've seen female bodybuilders, but I'm gonna be honest with you, they are on other substances and they are lifting crazy amounts, like 3 to 5 hours a day sometimes. That's a 10-pound weight. Don't let that drop on your foot. That would hurt. So the great thing about lifting weights, number one, we need to all do it as women because our bones deteriorate as we age. Osteoporosis is a real thing. That's when you see older women kind of hunching forward, even kind of they shrink a little bit, and they really do because their bones are deteriorating. If you drink caffeine or soda, that's going to pull the calcium from your bones, so you need strength training to kind of counteract doing that. As women, we need to strength train because it builds strong bones and it's good for us. And if you weightlift or strength train, you're going to burn more calories at rest than you would if you did cardio. So let's say you go out and run a mile, you're going to burn roughly 100 calories. That's give or take. 100 calories. A weightlifting session for the same amount of time might be 50 to 75 calories. So yeah, when you compare that like that, your cardio is going to burn more during the session. But what happens is that strength training, I'm trying not to get sciencey, but there's something called exercise, I'm trying to make it like layman's terms. So after you strength train, your muscles continue to burn hours later. So for the whole day, if you're looking at one day, you're going to burn more by adding strength training to your workout. So, and I will also say, if you see a woman that you're like, man, her arms look awesome, or her legs look toned, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, she probably lifts weights, guaranteed. And if you think about that, counteract that to someone who only does cardio. They might be really skinny, and if that's your goal, okay, sure. But that does a lot of damage to your body. And I say that as a runner, and I love running, but I know how much damage that does to my body. So just be smart about that. But I would say, so my recap, if you're just starting out, start with 5-pound weights for your upper body, 3 to 5 pound weights. For your lower body, like if you're holding weights at your sides, you could do 5 to 8, maybe 8 to 10. And then as you continue on, let's say you strength train 2 to 3 days a week, I would say probably after a 4 to 6 week period, probably 4 weeks of consistently doing that, I would up the weights. Not on every move, but maybe you grab 12s this time for your squats and just play around with it. The key thing is when you're doing a set, when you're doing reps and sets, your last rep, so let's say you're doing 2 sets of squats, you're doing 10 reps. Your last rep, rep 9, rep 10, should be pretty hard. You should be breathing hard. You should be breaking a sweat. It shouldn't be impossible, and not so impossible that you break form, but it should be pretty difficult. And then see how you progress up. Guys, there are some moves I only do with 5-pound weights. And I throw around different things all the time. So sometimes I'll do a lot of shoulder work where I might do a front raise and then go out to the side, and I'll only do 5-pound weights. Not because I think that a lower weight will get me toned, but I know that my shoulders would get really stressed out with like an 8-pound weight and my form would be compromised. So for that, I have a 5-pound weight. But then there's other things where if I'm doing a power move, like a snatch where you, from the ground, you lift all the way up overhead, I use a 25. So you can see there's a huge, huge range. If I'm doing squats, I might hold 125 in the center or 120 pound in the center. So play around with different things. And unfortunately, if you're an avid weightlifter, I bet you have a ton of weights, or if you go to the gym, you use a whole like gamut of weights. I have 5s, 8s, 10s, 12s, 25s. I'm missing 15s. I really need a 15 in there. I have one 20-pound kettlebell, and I really need like a 30-pound kettlebell. That's where I'm missing, but those are expensive. So if I'm gonna invest in something, I would invest in a pair of 10-pound weights. If I'm investing in one thing, a pair of 10-pound weights, maybe one like 20-pound kettlebell or 15-pound kettlebell. So you get one heavy weight if that's all you can afford, and then maybe like a set of 5s, a set of 10s. That's a good place to start. If you've been lifting for a while and you want to see change and you're not seeing change, time to up the weights. Leave me a comment below if you want to know, if you have a question about what you're doing and you're not seeing the results that you want. If you're not seeing the results that you want and your exercise is keyed in, it might have to do with diet, unfortunately. But that's my tip for you with strength training. If you don't strength train, I want you to leave a comment below and tell me why, because you need to strength train. And I get the comments all the time like, oh, I wish I had your legs, I wish I had this. I'm like, guys, I lift a lot of weight, and I'm not afraid to lift a lot of weight. So don't be afraid of heavy weights. Don't compromise your form, but start lifting. Start incorporating that into your daily or your weekly workouts. It is key. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have a great weekend. We have a crazy busy weekend. And let me just say, if you saw my post yesterday and there were so many of you that commented and said you were praying, and I know some of you jumped back on and said you were still praying, like, you don't know how much that means. And I am so grateful and so thankful to God for you and for this group. And I hope that we can continue to cultivate this, just lifting each other up and helping each other up and answering these questions that we have about, you know, taking care of our bodies and taking care of our families, because that's big too. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It meant a lot. And today was a much better day. And hopefully we're on the up. We're past the sickness and we can start to celebrate this weekend. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend.